Hey guys, this is Elodie. So in this looking back video, I'm going to be talking to you about my study abroad experience. So I decided to study abroad the summer after my sophomore year in Costa Rica. And so the reason I wanted to study abroad was because if you saw my New Year's resolution video, I was tired of living in my head in movies and books, and also during this period of my life, I had some confusing people in my life, so I just wanted to get away from everything and just take my mind off of it. I had previously traveled abroad before with my family and completely alone by myself, and I have some sketchy stories from that. But I never really traveled with strangers. The closest thing that I had done to that was the senior cruise that I took to the Bahamas in high school. But I basically knew most of those people. This was the first time I was traveling with strangers. I had been to Central America before. I had been to Panama with my family, but I'd never been to Costa Rica. The reason I decided to do this particular program was because I had an English teacher my freshman year. He was kind of cool, and so I was like, oh, let me see what program he's talking about. It ended up being a photo documentary creative writing class, which I was kind of into film and I wanted to work on my writing, so I decided to do that program. And I got English credit for it, and it was 6 credits. I did a Maymester, so that only lasts basically a month from May until early June, so it was really fast-paced program. So the program I was a part of was 2 programs kind of combined together. There was an advanced Spanish course, and there was also the photo documentary creative writing course. And some people kind of did the Spanish and the creative writing, but I did both 2 of the English credit classes. So what I liked about the class was that we had workshops. So the English portion, we would go into the classroom. For the creative writing portion, would have workshops where we would read each other's work, we'd have an assignment, we'd have to write on it, we would read different articles. And also we had the photo documentary portion in which we would go into the classroom and we would learn how to use the equipment, learn how to edit for those who didn't know how to edit. And we would also watch a little bit of videos, and most of that portion of the class photo documentary would film all of our activities that we were doing. So we'd film the advanced Spanish people and other people in our class as they were doing the activities and had to film 1 short documentary. I ended up filming 3 of them. Now that I look back, there's only really 1 that I enjoyed, and that was kind of one that I did on a whim by myself. But I'll link those as well in the description box below if you want to watch them. So my study abroad experience kind of started off a bit wonky. I was flying standby. If you don't know what that is, it's when you kind of have flight benefits, and so you have to wait till a plane, if there's empty seats, then you're allowed to go onto it. But since this was a booked flight, people were studying abroad, I had to wait and go on the flight after that, which was like 3 or 4 hours after. Luckily, I wasn't the only one who was flying standby. There was another girl in a different program in Costa Rica that she was flying standby, and then one girl missed her connection flight, so all 3 of us ended up taking that flight together. If you want to read about that experience, it was one of the blog posts that I wrote, and I'll also link all the blog posts that I wrote in the description box below. So when we arrived, it was nighttime and we had to take a taxi, and it was like a 2 or 3 hour ride away because the UJ campus is in San Luis de Monteverde, and that is up in the mountains, and it was kind of getting a headache and getting kind of dizzy on the taxi ride. But we arrived at nighttime, we had to sneak into our rooms, and in the campus there are bungalows, so there's 2 bunk beds per room, so 4 people per room. And everybody beforehand, they got to choose their roommates, and I ended up not being able to choose my roommates, which I'm kind of glad it ended up working that way because I actually made a really good friend who was my roommate for most of the trips that we had in Costa Rica. So in this program, we moved around a lot. So the first half of the program was spent in the UGA campus, and so we would wake up in the morning and we would go and eat in the cafeteria, and they would serve us this really organic foods, and Costa Rica is really eco-friendly and green. And even the milk that they had, we went out one time and we saw the cows and how they treated them and how they milked them and things like that. So you really saw how animals could be treated properly and cared for. And the only downfall was though that they served melons and cucumbers, which I don't like. I'm trying to teach my brain and learn how to just be more open about it. But just the smell of watermelon makes me nauseous. But most of the food was pretty good. We had rice and beans, fresh coffee. During our time there, we also visited a local coffee shop, saw how they roasted the coffee beans and made it. We also visited a local DIY chocolate factory where we sampled some chocolate and saw just how he created everything and learned the history about the cacao beans and things like that. We also went on trail walks, so we would have a tour guide, and she would take us through the rainforest. We also went to another rainforest and we had a tour guide, and he was really good with like bird sounds, and like we tried to make the sound of the quetzal, and we would just be going through and just really immersed into nature. Like I was even like saving cockroaches and things like that because it was all about preserving biodiversity, because it has like I think the most biodiversity in the world. Like the South American rainforest has the largest biodiversity in the world, something like that. After the San Luis portion of the trip in the mountains, we moved down to San Jose in the city, and we stayed at a hotel. I roomed there with one of my roommates that I had at the bungalow, Sophie. And what we did in the city on the second day, it was the first second day I got really sick, so I stayed in. I was having a fever, I was really hot, because like when the temperature changes, like I get kind of sick. And so everybody went and did some activity and I stayed in. But when we were there, we went out to a nightclub, and we were like dancing, and it was like, ooh, get it, and like we didn't really know how to get it. People were dancing, but I was filming performances because we had to film live activities for our documentaries because I was in charge of the San Jose portion. I filmed a documentary about that. So I'll link that, as I said before, in the description box below. And so we also took a tour of the city. We had a tour guide. He was kind of zany and like took us to some of the places. We also went and did a little bit of shopping, and oh, we also had a local filmmaker. He was also featured in Cannes. So he was featured in some film festivals, and he showed us his film, and then we got to ask him some questions. So that was very interesting to do, and that trip really kind of inspired me to get more into film. That trip is really basically what made me feel like I could be a documentary filmmaker. Even though some of the projects I've put out I haven't felt were the best, it kind of piqued my interest and was a medium that I found that I could tell stories, because I'm really into storytelling. At one point I also went and saw this small little jazz concert in the basement of a restaurant that we saw. It's just myself and Sophie and my professor, and so that was a fun thing that I was able to do as well. After we left San Jose, we went to Arnal, and we stayed at this really nice resort. We stayed in front of an active volcano, which is kind of scary, crazy, but it hadn't gone off in a while. And at this place I roomed with this other girl, and the room was really nice. If I have footage, I'll insert it here as well. And what we did there, we went zip lining, we also went kayaking, or no, we went rafting, and that was really fun. All those activities were really fun, and it was a really nice resort that we stayed at. So it was kind of good that we got to experience all these different sides to Costa Rica. After Arnal, we went back to the mountains in San Luis de Monteverde, and we had a homestay. So I decided to film a short documentary about my homestay mother, and it's called Homestay. It was my favorite one that I filmed. I'll link that below as well. And my homestay mother, she was very sweet. She's been doing homestays, I think she said 23 years. It's a really long time. And so her family, they all lived in the same area, and so all the students, we lived pretty close to each other, and we would walk from our homestay to our campus for our classes. And my homestay mother, she didn't really speak English, and I don't really speak Spanish. I took Spanish in elementary school and 1 year in middle school, and so I speak French, so I would maybe sometimes mix up words like frutas and fui. I would get them mixed up, but I managed to make it work and learn things. Like I learned, like you say, con permiso, like my pleasure instead of de nada in Costa Rica. So that was really fun. And all the time, pura vida, people would say that all the time. Like, you know when countries say they have a slogan, but you never hear people say it? Like, they say pura vida all the time. I don't know if it's because we're tourists or if people actually really say it. But for that remainder of the time when we were in the UJ campus, we had some really fun nights. We learned to dance. I think we learned the bachata. It might have been salsa, but I think it was the bachata. We also had a karaoke night. You know, some people were going in. I sang some Cheetah Girls, threw it way back. And yeah, that was really fun that we did that on our last few days. And we also had screenings for our short documentaries. So the advanced Spanish program, they were really intense throughout the whole program, had all this kind of homework, and we were kind of like filming, and they thought we were just chilling, which we kind of were, but we were still learning to use the equipment. But on the last few days, we was like really intense for us because we had to edit, and I had already editing software on my computer, so I would be editing some of mine, which is why I did 3 documentaries instead of 1, because I knew how to edit and I had editing software on my computer. But other people, they had to rely on the labs, and they had to really figure out how to do some of the editing. So we did our screenings, and everybody showed all their films, and it was a really good thing to share our films. So after that, we packed up everything, and we Oh, I did miss something. We also had a portion where we planted our own plants. I don't know if my plant is still alive or not, but now they developed a technology where you can monitor your plant, like you can check online to see how your plant is doing, but that was after my program had already happened. We planted some plants to, like, it was like a carbon offset program, so the gas that you use to fly over there and all these things like that, you plant your plant to put back that energy that you use into the environment, so that was a really positive thing. We also heard from some local farmers and learned about, you know, some of the coalitions and some of the things that they were doing to be sustainable, because Costa Rica is really all about sustainability. We even went to this, I think it was called a blue flag ceremony, where like you get it for being sustainable. It's like a big deal. And so we went there and just heard about that and learned about it a bit. After that last portion in San Luis, we went to Playa Samara, which is a beach, and it was really nice, and we stayed, I stayed again with Sophie and this other girl. We stayed in the same room, and I had like the master bedroom, but all good things come with a price. It ended up being kind of scared at night, and it wasn't all it was cracked up to be. But our place was right on the beach, like our bungalow was closest to the beach, so we could walk right to the beach and back and forth and not have to worry about it. And we all went as a group. We were supposed to go out and see dolphins, or I don't know if it was dolphins or whales. We were supposed to see something in the ocean. And we all got seasick. Like right when I put my foot into the boat, I knew, oh no, it's not going to be good. And then everybody midway through, like it was like their heads were down and they were getting sick and nauseous. Somebody even threw up. Some people, it was really bad, ended up being really seasick, so that was a bust. Later on, people went kayaking, I think, in the ocean, but I just was not chancing. I was like, I'm not trying to get seasick again. I don't want to do it. But when we were there, we went to one of the best restaurants I've been to in my entire life. I think the best restaurant ever. That's when I fell in love with zucchini, and I have not been able to replicate it. I think they have like an outdoor brick grill. So that zucchini, oh my god, it was so good. The baked potato was amazing. And it was right on the beach, like the sand was on your feet, and there was a bunch of these Kermit crabs there. It was beautiful, and it was, I think, the best meals I've had in my life ever. We also went as a group downtown, or I don't know if it was downtown, but like we went out to the club or this little bar area, not a club, bar area. We went all there as a group and just explored the town a little bit and went shopping at the markets. And that was basically our cool down time that we had there. My professor ended up actually leaving early because he had some family emergency. And so after that, everybody went to the airport and we flew home. Although I enjoyed my study abroad, it did come with some negatives. One of the professors, she didn't really like me, so that wasn't a really positive experience. Also, it was really short, which is a plus and a minus, because I ended up having the rest of the summer to travel to other places that I wanted to travel to. And it was kind of cliquey. So because our program was so small and we moved around a lot together, cliques started to form. But I did make some really good friends, one of them being Sophie, who I actually visited this past March in Boston. She didn't go to the UGA because other schools could come and do the program. And so she's a really good friend that I have. I also was friends with Nicole. She was in the theater program, and she also went to another school in Georgia. She didn't go to the school I go to, but she was really nice. Also Ryan, he was in the theater program, and he helped me film my short documentary that I filmed about Athens. So I did meet some really nice people on the trip, and that was really positive to get to know those people, because it's an experience that you're sharing together that you won't have with other people. So I definitely recommend that you do a study abroad if you can. I had, I think, about 3 scholarships, and so it's possible to get scholarships. I still have to pay for some other things, and like flights, I had flight benefits, so that was positive for me. But there are a lot of deals that you can get on flights, and there are a bunch more scholarships that you can apply for to get to do your study abroad. Also, tuition, usually you only pay the in-state tuition of that institution, at least at the school I go to. So if you're out of state or you go to a different school, you're not being burdened by these outrageous rates, and you get credit really fast. I got 6 credits in like 28 days, which is amazing. So I definitely recommend that you do a study abroad, and be mindful of what kind of program you're doing, whether you want to be moving around a lot, whether you want it to be more an independent where you live in an apartment and you explore a bit more on your own. Just think about what kind of study abroad program you want to do. So that was my looking back video on my study abroad experience. I hope you enjoyed it, and that maybe gives you a bit insight on studying abroad. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to comment and subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching. I also have a couple of days left on my giveaway if you haven't already entered it. It's going to be ending very soon. It ends August 14th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so make sure you apply to the giveaway before it ends and read all the official rules before you enter. So I hope to see you in my next video. I filmed a homeroom tour. I filmed some homeware / back to school haul, as well as a couple of vegan videos. So be on the lookout for that and subscribe so that you know when it all is coming. Bye!